The show is really awesome. We're coming straight from Austin. Let's talk sports.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Sports. I'm Dan Hurwitz.
And I'm Samir Butcher. Dan, a lot to talk about today. Texas beat Nebraska. That's a big win, right?
It is a big win. They beat the fifth-ranked team in the country, and they did it using a different type of offense that we've seen this year, but that Texas fans have seen in the past with other Longhorns, mainly Vince Young and Colt McCoy.
Right, yeah. The victory was really a la that 2005 to 2008 era where they had Vince Young running in the national championship year and Colt McCoy sort of picking up the slack and doing the same thing with his feet. He was by no means as fast as Vince or Colt, but certainly was effective. And I think that's been the most creative and sort of not conservative play calling that I've seen all season. What do you think?
Yeah, he meaning Garrett Gilbert.
Right.
I don't think we'd said his name yet.
Yeah.
He ran for 71 yards, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is
71 more than he usually runs.
Yeah, exactly. Only completed 4 passes, 4 for 16, but who cares because they got that one stat that's most important, one victory over a fifth-ranked team at Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska now, they're in some trouble. They're likely out of a championship game. So now Texas has that opportunity to play, or they already had that opportunity to play spoilers. They can do it again in a few weeks against Oklahoma State. But this week, Iowa State comes to town, a first home game in about too long.
Yeah.
I haven't been to DKR Memorial Stadium in seems like forever now.
Right, it's been a while, and unfortunately it brings in a mediocre team, let's be honest. Iowa State's not the best, but they have been known to play upset. They beat Nebraska last season on a last-second field goal, but Nebraska still went on to play and contend for the Big 12 championship. And Iowa State's been known to put up a fight, so it's not a game that Texas should by any means overlook, especially with 2 losses in the loss column.
Right, and as Iowa State is a mediocre team, Texas, once again, we still aren't too sure how good or bad of a team they are.
Right.
It seems like it's just coming down to who's making the mistakes, the fumbles, the drop passes, the penalties.
Right.
That's one of the biggest factors.
Right, it wasn't even an overwhelming victory against Nebraska. Right. We should be clear. I mean, there were 8 drop passes, 4 of which were touchdowns. This is by the Nebraska team. If any one of those had been completed, the game would have been totally different. So it's not like Texas doesn't have work to do, but their defense, for the most part, looks stellar. And I feel like Will Muschamp's going to continue that game plan against Iowa State and against the rest of the season.
Right, and although on offense, it's good to see Gilbert run, you still need to get him throwing the ball. He went across the middle a couple times against Nebraska. They avoided the little cute screen pass against Nebraska, and all worked out. So hopefully for Longhorns, they'll keep working out Gilbert's arm and see what he can do downfield. But so remember, 11 a.m. start on Saturday, so set your alarms.
Right, it's an early game.
But also going on in UT athletics, women's basketball and men's basketball kicked off practice this week. Mm-hmm. The women's basketball held their media availability, and Samir, I know you were in attendance at there.
Yeah, I was at the first media availability of the season for the women's basketball team. They're going through a time of transition. They lost a couple of big-name seniors last year, and the team is very young. I guess the words that kept coming up during the press conference from Coach Gail Geston-Kors and the rest of the squad was, how do we deal with XXX? And mainly what they're dealing with is a loss of a big presence in the middle because sophomore Koki Reed, who was a big-time player for the Longhorns as a freshman last year, is out for the season with an injury. And they have a couple other players who are sort of banged up. Highly recruited freshman Tiffany Moore broke her arm during practice earlier this year, and so she'll be out for a little while. But again, this team is young, but hold on, yeah, sorry, I messed up. I want to finish. This team is young, but coaches and the rest and all the players feel like they have potential to make a shot at the Big 12 title.
And once again, it's a really small team. I know last year they only had 10 players, small size-wise and with the amount of players on the team. Last year they only had 10 players. Mm-hmm. This year I think it's still around the same amount, and only 3 starters returning.
Right. There's only a couple starters returning. Ashley Gale, Kat Nash, would have been Cookie Reed, but not anymore.
And Ashley Fontenette.
No, and Andy Von Anderson. Excuse me. I mean, she's a returning player, and they're all big for points. But again, 6 out of the 12 on the active roster are underclassmen. So that's a big deal. But that doesn't mean that they're not learning to grow as a team. Like I said, during the media availability yesterday, we sat down, Daily Texan sat down with Tiffany Moore, and she had a lot to say about her and her freshman teammates.
You know, as a freshman, what type of pressures do you have, you know, coming into this system, and how do you think you're gonna work your way into this system?
Well, when it comes to pressure, I don't believe there's really any pressure at all. Just the fact that, you know, we have 6 freshmen getting out there. We all work hard, so there's no pressure at all. We're kind of used to and immune to it by now that Coach G wants people who play hard, work hard, and get time in the gym. So there's really no pressure at all as a freshman.
What's been the biggest adjustment, though, coming into college?
Not sleeping in my own bed, most likely. Not having home-cooked meals. Practicing all the time, 24/7. I mean, this is a job as well as a sport. I love doing it, but it takes up majority of your time.
It's a dubious start. You're not supposed to be at your first meeting and do it with your hand wrapped.
Yeah.
What happened?
I actually broke my hand in practice. Took a charge, and the practice player knocked me down. I tried to stop it with my hand and ended up cracking up my wrist.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems like if the team, they got a strong sense of camaraderie, even though a bunch of newcomers, I know they all get along over there. Coach G has her squad together, keeping them, you know, all as one.
Right, yeah, what she's really focused towards, and she mentioned this yesterday, is building a program for the future, not just building a program for the now. So I feel like this squad, if, you know, they don't make a big splash this year in the rankings, they're certainly going to do it over time.
And Coach G, this is her 4th year at Texas. Last year, a disappointing exit in the first round of the NCAA tournament at home to San Diego State, where they were upset. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how the team could bounce back this year after not doing as well as they hoped.
Yeah, it's certainly weighing on her mind, but again, she's building for the future. She knows it, and she has the squad to do that.
Well, that's all we got today for Let's Talk Sports.
Yeah, if you guys have any suggestions for what you want us to talk about, please put it in the comment section. That's about it. Bye, Mom.
Have a good weekend.